It doesn't take long to build a successful business. It takes long to become the founder that does.
Good entrepreneurs teach people what good leadership looks like.
Hire slow, fire fast. That will serve you well.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Founder Diaries. Thank you so much for tuning in. First of all, before we delve into today's episode, please make sure you subscribe on whatever platform that you're listening to this on so we can keep bringing you more amazing conversations with founders. Before we get into the episode, today's guests are people I was really hoping that I could lock in and I've worked with before. So I'm very excited to have them on set and to have today's conversation. I will let them introduce themselves. Ladies first.
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi.
Thanks for having us. So my name is Kui Njoroge. I think you did throw a little challenge and said not to talk about our roles.
Yes.
Try as much as possible. And I thought about it and I'm like, okay, who am I? I'm someone who recharges around people. I love being around people. I love to talk. So, of course, proper extrovert. I also thrive when things are in motion. So when it comes to doing, when it comes to planning, when it just comes to like doing stuff and getting stuff done. More importantly is I have a passion for this continent. I have a passion for entrepreneurship and people who are business owners. And my heart belongs to my family as well.
Yeah. Excellent introduction, Ken. While following the rules.
Yeah, tough act to follow. So, but you've given me a template. Thank you for that, Koi. Yeah, my name is Ken Njoroge. I'm an introvert. So I have a lot of fun just hanging out alone. And so what goes through my mind?
Except with me.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
What goes on in my mind when I'm alone? I think about my family, the kids, Koi, and so on. I think about the country. I think about the continent, about our people. And I think I have a passion for building things and renovating old property, old things, and bringing them, giving them a new life. I think that I'm very passionate about that. It just requires money, and I'm an entrepreneur, so most of it goes to the business. But hopefully, I have some of it to do more of those. Yeah, that's what keeps my soul refreshed.
Going.
Yeah,
Were you that child that your mother was always scolding for taking things apart and trying to put back together?
I think so.
All right. So you're both married. You're both co-builders in the business that you're in currently. What do you think are some things about building together that people maybe don't talk about, or that people get wrong or assume, or maybe even an assumption you both had before you went into it and now you're like, oh, this is not what we thought?
So Ken has built 2 other businesses before this. I have been part of the journey of him building Cellulant, but more like support. So I wasn't involved in the business, but I can tell you that it was our dream, it was our family vision. This is our attempt. And I think it's interesting. We started building this business when our marriage turned 18. So a priest friend of ours said, oh, your marriage is finally an adult. You look like you're ready to attempt to build a business together. And when you do something like family, that is also like building an institution. What do people possibly not consider is that you're coming to this journey with 2 very different visions. And there's a lot of potential for there to be division if you're not careful. So I think now with experience and going into this new journey, it has been a process of really negotiating what the singular vision looks like, because you cannot pursue 2 visions. But that singular vision needs to bring in both of what you desire, what you want, and the outcomes that you're looking for. Yeah. So I'd say that's one thing. What's your negotiated singular vision that you're going to pursue as a unit?
Yeah.
And then that way now you have the power of compounding.
Yeah, I think well put. When we started, we wanted to build a good business, and we were very intentional to call out actually that we wanted to build a family as well. And I found actually the principles are more or less the same for the 2. Actually, during our dating life, we spoke only about family and business actually. So that co-creating this vision, it's almost like, she had some puzzle pieces. I had some, and of course, there has to be some stuff that you share. You can't start from nothing.
Yeah.
So that process of just talking about those things, kind of drew us very close together. So when we came together and we started to put the puzzles, the areas where we needed to sort of negotiate and do trade-offs were not that many. And because of that, I think it took out a lot of the stress typically that would go when you're trying to do these two very difficult things in the early days, right?
Yeah.
With very little money, little resources, little money, little time, little knowledge, because you haven't worked this before. Yeah, I think having those foundation and negotiating that puzzle, probably gave us a fighting chance for what was a really long and tough journey.
Great. So I think we buried the lead a little bit. For those who might not know you, tell us a little bit about Cellulant. I guess that's the first big business you built. But also you can tell us about all of us entrepreneurs started with like a hustle before the main hustle. You can tell us a little bit about that and then Cellulant.
Yeah, actually the Pani Komini would be my fourth rodeo, actually. I had an attempt actually at starting a business in the mid-90s. And so that was the first attempt. So that lasted about a year.
What business was it?
I was a technology guy, so we wanted to build like a internet directory of all businesses in East Africa. Myself and my housemate, and we actually started to work on it. But after some time, we kind of came to the conclusion that we had fairly different ideas about how to build a business and so on. So we decided it was going to get into a way of a very good friendship. Then I went on in 98 together with two other co-founders. We built a business called 3 Mice. So that was actually a relatively well-known company. I don't want to call it successful because we never made any money.
Well, money is not the only metric of success.
Yes, we did every other good thing, but we didn't make money. So you have to complete the cycle. So money is not the only thing, but it's a critical piece in completing the cycle. Otherwise, it dies, right?
What did 3 Mice do?
So we built websites for people, sophisticated, beautiful-looking websites for people in the late 90s. It was a thing at that time, right? Even today,
It's still a thing.
Getting a good website is hard.
Yeah.
So you can imagine those days of the early days of the internet. So it was called 3 Mice. And then in 2000, it was bought by Africa Online, which was a large internet service provider. So that was my first company where we actually, sort of built a sizable team. I think at peak, we had a team of 40. And we had a business in Kenya and Uganda. Naturally, one of our our large customers at the time was Safaricom. So that was the first time that I saw the rapid growth of the internet, of mobile. And I just had this sort of inkling that actually everything you saw on the internet would move to mobile in one form or another. And it was very clear that mobile was kind of going to have millions and millions of customers. So you could actually build a big business there. So Cellulant was actually born as a research project within 3 Mice, which then we later spun off as a separate company much later. And then and Cellulant was born sometime in 2002. At least a vision was born, but we eventually went to market in 2004.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, what is Cellulant's main product? What do you sell?
Yeah, so Cellulant today is a payment processor. So we help large businesses and large banks process payments. So today, if you go onto the internet and you buy a Kenya Airways ticket or Ethiopian Airlines or a Qatar ticket, and you pay by card or M-Pesa, that payment transaction is enabled by Cellulant. So we have built this company in many markets, and in many markets you need licenses, you need connections to M-Pesa, to MTN Mobile Money, and all of that. So these large customers typically like to work with a single provider who can kind of give them this service across many markets. So they don't need to go to all this Nigeria and Ethiopia and so on to set this up. They can actually work with a single provider to collect payments for them. So that's what Cellulant does today, and that's the largest business
Yeah.
But it started off from a very different vantage point. We started off actually by selling Kikuyu gospel ringtones on mobile phones in 2004. The guys who were there around that time, they remember seeing adverts in the newspaper
Yeah.
with these top 10 lists of Mogidi songs by some of the large gospel stars at that time. When Kamaru, the late Kamaru was alive, Esther Wahome, Kunadawa, all of those ringtones. In those days, it was a big hit. We sold them for $1, right? And
Which was like 70 bob then
it
or
was like
something.
79 shillings, yeah. Yeah, people used to find it funny, but it was an incredibly large business.
Yeah.
So we went through this journey of evolution from those very humble sort of beginnings to the payment business across many markets that it is today. It was a very long and tough journey. I think it was for me a 20-year career, in a sense, in the making. Yeah.
We'll get into this conversation a bit deeper later, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm curious to hear, was 3 Mice your first kind of exposure to the idea that, so I can build a business and then somebody will give me money to take it over? Because I feel like having grown up, especially around business owners and entrepreneur, we just know you start a business to feed your family and then maybe it dies with you if it even survives your lifetime. But this concept of selling businesses, I don't think is very African. I think it's very external. So was that your first exposure to that idea? Because now you've later exited Cellulant as well.
Yeah. 3 Mice was special in many ways. One is we were on the internet. So you had a lot of exposure to what was going on in the world. So you could say that, the orientation that you got in business was from what you saw in the market, but also what you saw going on in the world by reading the internet.
Yeah.
And then 3 Mice was just a good practicing ground for that. So the idea actually that you could build a business, actually make more money by selling it than keeping it and running it was obviously a very interesting idea. And then when you looked at what was happening in the world, the businesses were big, like they were huge, and people sold them for lots of money. Yeah, so I would say that that kind of set the roots of, let's say, my business philosophy. Of course, every other philosophy is valid, but this particular one really shaped I liked it. It really appealed to me. Yeah.
So when you were starting Cellulant, was it with the same concept in mind?
100%. And that was a philosophy.
Smart.
To build a business, make it large,
And so,
and own a small piece of it and sell it for huge chunks of money.
okay. Now, Kui, I'm curious to hear what had been your exposure to business. What hustles did you run before this whole Cellulant journey began?
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
I'm curious how far back she'll start.
Actually, I always knew in my heart that I wanted to do business, but I don't think we had much exposure around business. But I remember at some point, just after high school, and it's interesting that you ask, and I wanted my first attempt at business. I was like, all these people who've cleared school, we used to call it clearing school, like, the world is now your oyster. And I wanted to do a workshop because I was like, I'm sure parents will want their kids to do something with their time. And so I sat down with my dad and I was like, I actually want interesting people to come and talk to these guys. Now that parents have agreed to pay, what's going to be the content? And then I said, I want someone in business who's young. So interestingly, then he said, there's this young man who's building our website and there's something interesting we're trying to do at work. Maybe you can meet him and see if he'll be interested in coming to talk to you people. So in comes Ken at the time. And at the time, I remember him talking about, because at the time, Africa Online had just invested in 3 Mice, and him talking about being a shilling millionaire. Do you see billionaire? I don't think we're saying billionaire then. Shilling millionaire, and then talking about being a dollar millionaire. And there's something, before we connected, but there's something that connected about that concept of business. So even when I started working at the bank that I worked for at the time the play was that they were going to work with SMEs. And so when a friend of mine was like, oh, I'm trying to get the 3 mice account. It's so funny how life works. I was like,
I know the guy.
I know Ken, which was technically not true because I'd only met him that once. He came, gave the talk and left. And so that's how we reconnected. And then because I'd always been trying, at the time I was working at the bank, I was trying to run a wedding planning business. I know some people don't know that. Do you remember Ken?
Lucovadito.
It was called Lucovadito. I don't even know why I got a Russian name. So at the time, just really trying to find what is the business. So there's something in me that had a passion for doing business and running my own thing and building something. So of course, then, there was an alignment of minds when he told me that he's going to build $1 billion business in Africa for Africans by Africans. And I guess I believed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've continued to believe. What happened to that very first business?
Which one?
The one for the workshops, yeah.
The one for the workshops? No, I didn't. There wasn't enough knowledge, I think, or enough mentorship. And at the time, people who did business are guys who had failed in school.
It was not something that was looked up to.
Yes, it was not something that was looked up to. So it was not the thing that I would say boldly and with a lot of confidence, I want to do this. Now that I know my superpower, remember I said I love to plan things, I love being around people. I was like, wow, it was such a natural thing to do. But, such is life. Yeah. So it died like that. After that, now, of course, studied law, went to the bank, and then I had a different, in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe I should work towards being an investment banker. But even then, my mind was always, let me run something, let me sell something.
On the side, yeah. But I think it's also a very Kenyan mindset. Like everyone wants to have a little side hustle. Yes. So having built along Ken, and you kind of saw the journey also from the behind the scenes perspective, I'm curious to hear what's one thing from the beginning that Ken probably doesn't remember, but you distinctly remember about starting the business and like the hustle back then.
I think now he'd even be surprised, but and it may sound very simple, but Ken wore suits in the beginning. Like, because at the time and I think it speaks to his evolution as a founder, because now he's very confident and aware as to what his DNA is and what he's about. Yeah. There's even a board meeting, like you will not catch him in a suit, which represents that this is who I am, I show up as who I am, and this is a culture I'm building. But at the time when he was coming to, because now at the bank, when we reconnected, he actually was exiting from 3 Mice and was starting Cellulant. Yeah. So he was looking for money to clear some servers from the port so that he could start this business you're talking about. And he used to come to look for money in a suit, like really large and oversized. Those days they used to be big. There was no slim fit anything. So yeah, I think that's the one thing he'd not remember. But just evolving into, actually, I need to just be myself. And I can walk in and sell to a bank CEO or sell to Netflix or Meta and, show up this way. Yeah.
And be able to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now for you, Ken, what I'm really curious to hear, and something I find really intriguing, there's someone who sells food, probably like they cater and they walk around different offices to sell food. And in their mind, this business can never be big. But on the flip side, there's Java. They do the same business on different scales. So what would you say that you did differently with Cellulant that set you up to now become a Pan-African business, as opposed to, remaining smaller, and maybe some practical things that businesses can do to kind of get outside that mindset of like, my market is just in this city, even just like, not even just the country. Yeah.
I think you have to want it in the beginning. I always say one of the most important questions as a founder, as an entrepreneur in the early days is to be clear how big the business shall be. I always say that question is very different from how big can it be, which you describe. There's somebody. I remember somebody in my early days just told me, like, for everything under the sun you see, there's a poor person and there's someone who lives in a castle. So if there's a poor shoemaker, and there's a shoemaker who lives in a castle. So it's not about can. It's how big shall it be? And it's about what you want and why it matters.
Yeah.
And so some people fear big. Mistakenly, sometimes they think it comes with more problems.
Doesn't it though?
No, not at all.
Just the same amount.
All businesses, trust me. I have a Cellulant was 3 Mice was somewhat midish. Cellulant was really large, and it's really large business. Then we've gone through again Komini, and we are building it from the ground up. It'll become extremely large. And then of course the last 5 years I've been spending time with entrepreneurs. Their problems are the same. If I come from talking to you about business and I go into a Cellulant board meeting, the problems are the same. The only difference is zeros. One is talking about 1 zeros, the other one is talking about 7 zeros. One is talking about 2 zeros in shillings, the other one is talking about 7 zeros in dollars. But the problems are the same. They're worried about payroll, they're worried about tax, they're worried about retention of talent, same stuff.
We're all complaining about
Same things.
incompetency.
Yeah. The difference is the more zeros there are, and the dollar, the euro currency, the more people worrying about those problems. So if you're doing a business door to door, when it's tax, it's you and the taxman. For a much larger business, it's a CEO, it's an audit firm, it's a CFO, it's a board. They're all worrying about that problem. So I always ask, who do you think has a better chance of solving those problems? Because all problems will kill you, by the way, at whatever size. Like any business at whatever size, if it doesn't solve those problems, it will die. But who stands a better chance of
Survival.
solving those problems? The big. So I always say there is no payoff in being small. Just try to be, look deep inside, fight the fear, whatever it is, and just be as big as you can.
Yeah.
It's probably the only survival tactic out there.
That's a solid point. Sometimes I like to stop and look around at all the huge businesses that we know of. I think once I remember being at the airport in Dubai, and I looked, the Emirates, they have a building there, and I looked at it and I just thought, like, yani, this business was started by a man, like a person,
With
like
one
with
head.
one brain and 2 eyes, and
24 hours.
so why do we sometimes tell ourselves, no, those things are reserved for other people and not us? So Kui, now for you, now from a different perspective, what do you think are some things that kind of made the differentiating factor that kind of set Cellulant on that path that it is on? Yeah.
And, you know, I know Ken talks about this a lot, and maybe you've not mentioned it. Because also when you're brought up in Kenya and everything, like, where are you getting this information? Sometimes you just don't even know. I think, like you say, you need to be in Dubai in that airport for that thought to come to your mind. But I know he mentions a lot the first time when Africa Online invested, because the people who invested were a bunch of African kids, actually Kenyan young people who invested. And one of the investors was actually a mentor to you.
Ayisi Makatiani was a
And this
phenomenal
is
guy.
someone who was in MIT. So just also really opened up your mind. So there's value in terms of mentorship. And I love what you're doing here, because then it'll force, you know, a lot of other people to think very differently, because sometimes you just don't know based on the village in which you're at.
Yeah.
But when it comes to what was the differentiator for Cellulant, I'd just say grit and resilience. That would be the number one thing. No matter what, despite all the difficult and unfortunate things that came, despite the fact that they were the first to do a lot of things, there was just as a culture of a lot of grit. Ken was big on hiring underdogs, people who just had a lot to lose by not making it. So if you ask me what one thing got the company to being big, I'd really point to grit and resilience.
Definitely. Keeping on going, even when it feels like everything is dark.
And they had a lot thrown at them.
What would you say was the biggest, like, okay, I think this is the end moment, but obviously didn't turn out to be, like, the moment where you almost actually quit?
So fast quitting was not an option. Even
It
in
just
our
wasn't.
case,
It just
like,
was
you know,
not.
people are like, oh, have you been married so long? Like, I was like, by the way, this thing must work. It's to the grave. Because there are so many naysayers. People saying, these guys have gone down the wrong path. That business is not going to work. The two of them don't know what they're doing. That gave us a lot of fuel. That fuel is very pure and it's a lot. But there were those moments in the beginning, I think from 2003 to 2006, 7. There was a lot of near-death experiences. You know, when it's an existential crisis, like every fire you have and you're fighting can potentially kill your business. But also our family came in quick succession. Between 2005 and 2008. So you're looking at those kids and you're like, okay, perhaps.
You just have to survive.
You have to survive.
Yeah.
And then going forward after that, then you've taken investor money from around 2011. And you have this deep sense of responsibility and conviction that, okay, it's going to work because the investor money you've taken is foreign money. It's not African money. Africans don't have a reputation for building great things. So that thing also fuels you. But also, I think, and this I give Ken credit for, is that he spent a lot of time selling the vision and creating alignment, like having hard conversations, even with our children. So at no time was he entitled to support. He comes and says, like, let's say, for example, we were very affected by the collapse of Chase Bank in 2016. He came back home and said, okay, guys, this is what it means. The bank has collapsed. And I remember my daughter, and she was quite young. She's like, okay, so why did you put your money in that bank when you didn't know, like other people, it's going to collapse, you know? That's not an easy conversation to have as a parent. But because we confronted issues and had those hard conversations, I think we had a fighting chance. Because we continue to align on what's the outcome. But so like I said, grit and resilience.
Okay. So now for Ken, so you knew from the beginning you're building a pretty big business, but in the start, it's usually you do everything. You're the messenger, the cleaner, the, BD, everything. At what point did you realize, okay, I need to bring on more help, and especially more on the executive level? And what was that process? And especially setting those people up for success, because I think saying you're delegating and then now doing it efficiently in a way that that person actually takes on the vision the way you'd want is different. So what are some of those things that you would say that you did differently?
The magic actually is people. From day one is mastering people. The way I think about people, even today when we recruit, from day one, you must be running a project that's very critical. There's no such thing as orientation. When you get oriented, when you're fighting, when you're shooting. So the thing that happens from day one, you come day one, by the time I'm recruiting you, I am thinking hard about a project to give you, which we're going to work together on. And of course, as you're building a company and you're building a business, there's things you do very well. There's things that you're struggling with already. So those are the things you're trying to get people into those things. There are areas where you think you need to spend more time, so you need to free up yourself and so on. So it's like day one, when I say day one, you're alone. From that day, I'm looking for who's number 2, who's number 3, who's number 4, number 5. And if you get the first 7, I always said, if you got the first 7, okay, those people will build the business. They'll build the business for everybody else. Even when I retired in 21, a big majority of the guys that I left behind to run the business, most of them were actually hired in the very early days. And most of them were either fresh from school. So their entire growth career happened, when the business was like 3 people in a small, dirty warehouse, to when the business was sort of running large customers across many markets. And it's the same thing that we're doing even with Komini. I give an example. We're raising capital to scale the business. So the first thing that we need to work on is an investor memo, an investor deck. There was one guy, fantastic guy, joined the business. His first project is the investor deck. And I know that we are going to do, and in that particular case, we did 27 iterations. I sent him a note I told Kenna to stay out of it because Kenna would have done the deck because we've done this drill before. And 27 iterations, when you think about that, that's how training happens. But that person now, as they are doing other decks like proposals and things like that, for the investor deck, he did 27 iterations. So you can think about that's almost 6 hours for every iteration they're doing. That's 1 to 2 hours for me every time we are reviewing it. So that's actually training. But that person now has gone on. Now they do 1 or 2 iterations for proposals. So in that short period of time, you have created capacity actually for us to be able to do 2 or 3 customer proposals, because as a founder, I'm here for most of the afternoon. And this is very valuable, right? Because we are building ecosystem audience. We're building an audience for our business. We're getting our message out. We're supporting an entrepreneur that we love and so on. That's important. I can't come out of here and then go out and do a proposal. So you have to you do that brick by brick, a person at a time. And when you do that, the business just grows. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. So they have a podcast as well, by the way. It's Komini by Panirid.
Komini by the Fire.
Komini by the Fire.
Yeah.
And there's an episode you did that to date. When I think about it, it makes me laugh. And I really just want you to repeat what you said. So the scenario was there was a task that was delegated to someone, like, handle this, right? And they were given a deadline. And this person kept checking in before the deadline. But then now it's maybe a day or 2 days to the deadline, and what is submitted is not even ready to be submitted to client. And you talked about what that entrepreneur did versus what you would have done. So I just want you to walk us through, like, I think a lot of founders, a lot of us are entrepreneurs because we're really good at what we do and our work, and we just tend to kind of run faster than most people. So the instinct is to take over and do it yourself, right? But how do we fight that instinct, and what's the opposite we should do to also now build capacity so you're not constantly always taking over, because it's not productive. It might feel good for your ego, but it's not productive.
I think I remember that story. It was a law firm, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so so they had the impression that the guy was actually doing stuff, and then only too close to the deadline and so on.
And they had promised the customer a date. It was a new client.
So it's a Wednesday.
Yes.
You're promising on Friday. The customers looked at you and they've told you, look, it's you I trust. I've given you the job and all of that.
Not even that. This is the first job. If you do it well,
Yeah,
all
there's
this
more.
work
All goodies will
is
come.
coming to you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I understand that scenario. I think they must deliver the work, but the customer also must get high quality work.
Yeah.
I remember telling that joke. I'd just say, if I were you, I'd call everyone in the office. I'd get them on bar stools and just sit there. If I needed to do it myself, they'd sit there with me watching me do the thing, right? Because what are you trying? You're still teaching, right? That's actually the thing that you're doing fundamentally. You're teaching first, then delivering second. And you want to do both of them really well. So there's absolutely no way you should allow that person to go home when you're taking on delivery. If the judgment call is that you have to do it, and they need to sit there and you work on it. And if you work on it, you're telling them, okay, this is what you shouldn't do. Don't write this because of this. Write this, write that, write that. And of course, for that work, chances are that you will do 1 or 2 overnights. They will also do them with you. Then once we deliver to the customer, on Monday, we are going to have a very tough discussion to try to trace what was broken from when you got the work to when you deliver. What broke? Why didn't we catch this early? And actually, in a case like that, you might also find that even you as a leader, you dropped the ball. The example I was giving before, this new guy, fantastic guy actually now, I did 27 iterations. So the deck went to investors and a few of them actually a few days from signing checks. But the 27, every draft, he sent it to me. We went through it. We discussed the design. We discussed the content. We discussed the flow. Then he went and reworked it. Chances are after that 1 hour, he probably didn't sleep most of the night. And in probably those 27 days that he worked on those iterations, probably didn't sleep. But that's actually the training, the investment cost that you make. But what do you get in return? We now have capacity for actually someone to do high quality proposals with very little input. And that person has also learned the training. Next time I hire somebody like him, I will just say, hey, train that guy on how to do a deck. He knows exactly what he's going to do. And actually, that's how, like a business, no matter what size, by the way, it's built that brick by brick. So it's just today we are training somebody how to do a deck. Tomorrow you're training them how to serve a customer. The next day you're training them how to enter a new market. The other day you're training them how to recruit high quality people, hire. Next time you're training them how to hunt for customers. Like it's just the same process actually.
Yeah. Now for you, Kui, I'm curious to hear, do you have any particular tips or specific ways you go about especially hiring and recruiting that kind of help you ensure you're getting a better quality of candidate, or what the years have kind of taught you about getting good hires right? Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so hire slow, fire fast. That will serve you well. But even before you hire, invest as much time as possible in getting clarity on who you want to come and what their contribution to your mission is. And there's a lot of things that you can train, but you can't train for attitude. So just a lot of clarity in terms of what culture is. And culture is tangible, intangible as well. If you are a better leader we tell this joke, we keep on saying, in terms of our philosophy, leadership philosophy, we have a parenting complex. And it takes a while to absorb and adjust that thing. But I think from the minute we embrace that thing, we realized actually it's because we like to teach, we like to coach, we also just like to nurture and parent and see people grow. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So it means that the people that we bring on board have to be people with very high learning trajectory, but also they have to be young. Because if I bring a peer, we're going to clash. So I'm wasting their time as well. Establish what your philosophy is. Be very honest with yourself and say, this is the culture I want to entrench. And so hire for those qualities fast, because a lot of the other CV things can be trained. I cannot remember the last time we hired from a CV. Okay, yeah, we will want to scan and know that
It gives you keywords to start
you
a
went
discussion.
to school, but no, I can't even tell even for most of my team like what their degree is in, because that's not the consideration. It's we first do a vibe check. We first make sure, okay, are you right in terms of attitude? Are you the right age? Like now we are this time we're building, we're like, okay, we want to have just Gen Zs in our team. And that's okay, because it could also just be the stage at which we are at. Yeah.
The last time I was hiring, actually, I was laughing with my HR person that it's so funny that when we're looking through CVs, also like where you studied, we don't even really pay attention to that or what your degree was. Yes. But you're saying it's so funny that now we're working so hard to take our kids to good schools to get degrees that now their CVs no one is going to look at. Of course, there are other benefits to taking them to these institutions, but I thought that was just really ironic. So as we segue into the next segment, I wanted us to now introduce what you're doing now, which is building Komini by Pani. So you can just tell us what it is, where did the idea come from, and what are you hoping to build it into?
I can start off and then Ken can summarize by saying what it is. Over the journey of Cellulant, I think there's a lot of things that we learned in that journey. It was very, very valuable because also we got insights by being exposed to an investor type of business and a way of building and a way of structuring. So I'd say around 2018, 2019, we were clear that in our next phase, the legacy project was to work with founders so that they can arrive alive and ride a better journey. I remember I told Ken so many times, wow, this journey is so lonely. Like who gives support for this sort of thing for founders, especially on the continent, because you just don't know. Yeah. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So by the time he was transitioning in 2021, we knew a couple of things, is that we want to help founders ride a better journey. We started close to our knitting, which was the tech ecosystem, because we needed to go out and understand who are these customers. Are we drinking our own Kool-Aid, or really people do want that mentorship and that support? But ultimately, we knew that wealth is going to be created on this continent by people who build businesses. We need to make sure that families are not a medical bill away from poverty. And so we knew that we wanted to support people who are building businesses. And that's where we started in 2021. And we embarked on this journey, which Ken will talk a bit about, and then say how we arrived at Komini this year.
Yeah, I think you've given a good thing. I think it's the only thing I can add about that is that it's fundamentally about wealth. Entrepreneurs create jobs, they create wealth, but also they teach, good entrepreneurs teach people what good leadership looks like. And if we can generally do those things, I think we have a chance of sort of fixing our home. Right? If we can create wealth, our people are poor, and yet we live in the wealthiest continent, and people can get jobs, and people can see what good leadership looks like. I think we have a fighting chance. So entrepreneurs are really special to us; they're dear to us, and if we can bottle these lessons we have learned into something that we can sort of organize and deliver at scale for founders, I think that can have a significant multiplier effect. I think one of the things we always talk about with Kui about out of the Cellulant journey was the number of entrepreneurs that were born out of that. I think now by count, the number is always growing, probably about 54. And 2 or 3 of them are businesses that are larger than Cellulant, actually.
Wow.
And so how special is that? So you can imagine if we can do that with the businesses on the Komini platform and on the Komini programs, that they are sort of have that multiplier effect that can be significant. I think that's useful, and it's worthwhile for us to spend actually a big part of the 20 years going forward together doing, right? Yeah.
Okay, great.
A quick pause. Let's hear a word from our partners over at Digitax. Running a business in Kenya is already like juggling so many balls, and you almost feel like a clown in a circus. Good news is that Digitax is here to make this process a lot easier for all of us. They have a platform where you can easily create your invoices, send them to your customers or your suppliers, as well as be able to also verify any invoices that you receive. And it also allows you to view all of your historical data, and they don't experience any downtime. Digitax is here to make this process of e-invoicing a lot easier and, most importantly, carry compliant. Make sure to check the caption for details on how to sign up, and you can easily access on your phone, your computer, your desktop, or wherever you go. They're your tax assistant in your pocket.
All right, so now that we're segueing into what you're doing now, what you're building currently, we have Kenna who's joined us on set. Please introduce yourself, tell us what you do at Komini, and a little bit more about what Komini is. If you had to explain to a 5-year-old, what do you do?
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Yvonne, for having me. My name is Kenna Kamau. The way in which I describe myself is I'm first a storyteller, which means I love to be around stories and to get the opportunity to tell them. And my version of telling that is through writing. It's something I enjoy a lot and allows me to just really capture the best of Africa, which is its stories. Yeah. And so in the last 5 years, I've discovered that I'm also an entrepreneur. And now the CEO of Komini and the co-founder to this lovely, lovely people here. Yeah. We've been walking a journey of just figuring out how we could support founders best. And so segueing that into what Komini is, Komini is a community for founders by founders. And we think that's so important because the only way that you understand truly how to bring people together is by first resonating with what their experience is. And so our work every day is to find what a founder's point of need is and to help them feel like they're less alone. And by that, we gain the ability to help them grow out of that problem. Yeah. So every day, my job is to do those 3 things. Find a founder, find what their point of need is, gain the trust to help them, actually grow out of that problem. And I think a bit of, what Ken and Kui shared is really what that bigger mission all leads up to, which is building wealth for the continent, helping founders be less lonely. And I think the one thing I would just tie it all up together in is a very beautiful phrase that we found a while ago that says, it doesn't take long to build a successful business. It takes long to become the founder that does. And so our job is to help you and to help founders on their journey of becoming.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's beautiful. I wanted to add and say, actually, you're a really great storyteller and actually really good at weaving that into running events as well, because I've had you at an event where you are running it. So please consider also emceeing.
Wonderful. Wow, more talent.
Yeah.
Once she
Another
builds,
stream of
once she
income.
builds Komini for us,
She can do that.
She
can
can
MC.
consider.
She can use night shift. So I'm really curious because I think even when I first came into Komini, you were not yet wearing this hat of CEO, right? So I'm curious to now hear from your perspective as a person who has been trained, who has been coached. What has this journey been like from when you first entered Komini, what you thought you were going to do there, and now to being CEO, and what that means for you and what you're trying to build?
Yeah. Fantastic question. I'm going to try and summarize that story very, very, very quickly. I met Kui in 2020 when we were writing a book. It was called "I'll Tell You the Truth." It's yet to be released, but let me tell you, when you get your hands on it, it's called "I'll Tell You the Truth about entrepreneurship in Africa." So that's how I found my way into the world of entrepreneurship. I never thought I was an entrepreneur. And in fact, if you find my family members and you ask them, they would just be like, what? Everything I learned about business was through stories. And being very privileged to be on the front line of this story. We spent 4 months writing that book and really documenting the principles that, not that they are different in other parts of the world, but there's a certain context that makes them so useful when you actually put an African story behind them. So everything I learned was through that context. The word Komini actually came from the beta group that we were running. So after you write a book, you typically put it out to a group of readers so that you can get feedback. And the word Komini actually means commune in Kenya, Rwanda. And why I say that is that timing, it just doesn't belong to us, right? It just happens at the right time, at the right place. And so 5 years later, when we had gone through a process of, discovering, consulting, putting together a fund and all the work that we've done for entrepreneurs and in that space, Komini came back as the core of what we want to do, which is reach founders who maybe are not found in the, traditional VC world. So my journey of becoming CEO, I didn't know that it began that day when we were writing the book. I was being primed and intentionally being just grilled with what the concepts of actually running the business were. I only officially became CEO this year in June. In June. Right? We've not yet done a party, so it's this year in June, unofficially.
Say less. That one is an easy problem to solve.
Yeah. But why I say that is because a lot of the foundations of loving the problem, already having committed so much life and time behind the problem. I remember the day Ken asked me to be CEO, I said, why do you think I'm ready? And he said, only because of two things. You love the people and you love the problem. And really, if you have those things, you're equipped. Everything else, the job will teach you. So, it's been a fantastic journey. I'm also just so privileged. I have the best mentors on the continent. I'm so privileged. Like, I cannot fail. Jesus' name, we cannot fail.
Did you have a shift into now, like, oh my God, these are the problems that you are dealing with? Did you have those moments of, okay, now you see everything?
Big time, yeah. Like the first week, I was just like, Ken, come and take this job back.
Actually, I feel like a really cool idea to practice with employees is doing like an exchange program. You do my job, I do your job. And then you come and beg me.
There used to be a show. No. The show was the reverse, where the CEO would go to the ground.
The underground.
Yeah. No one has ever tried taking up the CEOs.
Yeah. It's so important. I think one of the small things that I realized is how much, as a leader, you talk in meetings.
Me, I refuse to talk these days.
Because I'm like they're actually like they're taking you.
And everyone looks at you. Everyone in the room looks at you.
At some point, I'm like, it's minute 20. I'm feeling out of breath. Like, does no one have thoughts? Like, it's those small things that I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And maybe I should just listen to Ken, like a podcast. So, yeah.
All right. So, in as much as I really wanted to highlight people's stories on this podcast, I think what I used to yearn for a lot when I listened to other people's stories is I want to hear the technical elements of how you run your business and what I can copy from you. Because I really like to go and, do studies of how people are doing things. Okay, what can I borrow to help my business? So, I want to do a short, like, technically segment. So, you run a monthly finance meeting, right? Or like weekly or however often it is. What are some of the things that you look out for when you're looking at the numbers? What are some of the numbers that you look at? And what are some of the most recent decisions that have been informed by those numbers?
Hey, so this exam, you'd have sent it ahead. But anyway, so it's not a monthly finance meeting. It is very good habit for, and I don't know whether we call it necessarily a finance meeting, but we do look at our numbers often. I'd say practically every day. And it is anything that ranks from, so being a very young business, for us, the thing that we're trying to find out is who really, really is our customer. Whereas we've had several iterations, we want to make sure that it clicks. So when it comes to pricing, when it comes to frequency of making the payments, how they make the payments, when they do make the payments, cost of running the business, how profitable it can be potentially. And Ken did mention that we are raising money to be able to grow the product because what we're building is a tech product, so that it's scalable. So even what you're committing to investors in terms of return. So every day, and, of course, they'll also chime in, but they say what gets measured gets managed, what gets managed gets done. So at every time you need to be measuring things that are both qualitative and quantitative. But I'd like you guys to speak more as to, exactly what these meetings are, because Yvonne is saying you need to help, like technically, what do you do on the ground, not even just high level.
Yeah. So I just want to repeat that again. So what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed
Gets
done. Okay.
Yeah. Measure.
Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think, so that's a good foundation. So what do you measure? I have this cheat sheet that every business, there are 4 things that can tell you everything you want to know about the business. 4 measures. Equivalent of a triage. If you go to a hospital, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, they start with a triage. You check your temperature, pressure, and so on. So every business has that equivalent. One of it's revenue. The other one is the number of customers. The other one is the number of things you're selling. So if you're selling books, how many books did you sell today? So at a glance, you should have worked very hard to find what those 4 things are that give you a total sense of where everything is in the business. And then you watch those things every day. And then in the management meetings, actually, the format can be, okay, let's look at the numbers. If everybody has them, let's look at them. But then you ask, a conversation is around, okay, what is working well? Because there are some numbers that should be growing, there are some that should be declining. Like, for instance, if you have, let's say, failures, like say you're giving service, instances where you made mistakes when you're delivering, so those ones should go down. So what went well? What didn't go well? What are we going to do about it? By the next time we are looking at the numbers. So if you're looking at them every day, business will improve every day. If you're looking at them every week, business will improve every week. If you look at them so-so, business will also improve so-so. So what's working, what's not working? What are we going to do about it? And who's going to do it to make sure that tomorrow this number better be better than it was yesterday. And that's it. If you measure and you bring discipline to that process, the power of compounding works in your favor. So it means every single day in 1 thing or 2 things, a business gets better. The rest is just the power of compounding.
I'm not too sure you mentioned the 4th thing. So you said revenue, customers,
they're
number of products,
on different businesses. I was giving some examples.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kenna, what would you say as maybe like one recent decision you recall that you guys made based on what the numbers were telling you that maybe was not evident before, but now you're like, oh, the numbers are saying this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the guiding light. So personally, I think because I love words so much, numbers are not always my best friend. I'll say that like that. I'm learning a lot. And obviously there's always just bringing back to center. So the phrase that Ken always throws my way is, what are the numbers saying? And I usually feel like, okay, let's go and look at the numbers. But actually, all our decisions are made based on the numbers. We were having a very passionate conversation outside just before this about what products do we know will, or what features of the product do we know will be successful even as we grow. Such decisions are not made on how we feel about them. We go back and look at the numbers. How many people are actually subscribing for this? And it will teach you a lot of interesting things. For example, there's a little product that we're fighting about whether it's an actual product, where we at Komini have stepped in to help founders coach their teams. So like, for example, you as Yvonne, you would subscribe 3 of your team members to come into a webinar where we run it. And just breaking down some of the principles that I'm sure even through your Komini journey, you're like, wow, I can't imagine having my team understand this concept. It's a beautiful product. We've seen so much uptake in it with such little effort, right? But now it's having that conversation of saying, actually, that I think is the winning product because of how the numbers are performing. So that's the most recent one that I could think about that was like, oh, I didn't see that coming, but the numbers show it's strong.
Okay. So to wrap things up, we're going to jump into quickfire questions. So each of you can pick one. First one, when is the last time you took a day off?
A day off?
Yes. As in no work, no checking email, no WhatsApp, no work.
I think that would be me. Is it? Am I the most recent?
I took mine in like a month ago. But you actually...
So I made an attempt at taking a sabbatical. And I call it an attempt. So I think I recently took time off, and it really forced me to zoom out. But of course, because remember I said I like doing things, it just allowed me to focus on helping the family with the family business. So I got to do something else.
Into other work.
Did you have any days of no?
Zero
so I
work.
tried.
Yeah.
So you saw the way I was confident about I like things in motion. I tried doing that thing of like being on the sofa the whole day. Oh, what it did for my energy, very bad. It really tanked it. Yeah.
She's extroverted. Yeah, that doesn't
So I
guess
need
what.
to
We
like
could have told her
take
for
a
free.
trip.
Yeah. Or go for a class or something.
Go for a class, something that involves people.
Yeah.
That's the thing that will recharge me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last thing you did for fun, Ken?
That's always such a confusing question because the expectation and my reality, they are worlds apart. It was the last time I did my doodle. The doodle I publish on LinkedIn on Fridays. I really get joy from that thing.
Something that
my
was
heart sings.
not work related. Do you have a hobby that's not work?
I don't have a hobby. We have a theory of a hobby.
His hobby is work.
I think, yeah, I think I'd enjoy traveling with Kui, and I think we will enjoy renovating old houses.
But that needs like
But
a
that
certain
needs
amount
money,
of capital.
right?
Yeah, but the
And-
second thing is still work.
Yes. It's still work traveling. Yeah.
No, the
No, the
renovating.
renovation, yes.
Still work.
Yes. Interestingly, like we were sort of like going through, because in his Cellulant journey, it has taken him to such beautiful destinations. And it's only the other day I realized actually he spent his time in the hotel room.
Yep.
And like even ordering room service, like he didn't even go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we need to redo all those destinations
again.
and tour and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Kenna, what's one thing you struggle with that you wish more people talked about?
Okay. I can't do, like, you know how people like do math in their head? And like it was taught to us in school. I like more than 3 digits or more than 3 numbers. I just
to
see
be on paper.
You didn't do mental
So
sums?
we did, and there was an actual exam called mental math.
Okay.
And I was actually good at it then. There must be something. I need to talk to someone
You
about
made room
it.
for the words
Where
instead of the
it's-
numbers.
Yeah, I think I just overinvested.
Yeah. In the
Yeah,
words.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Koi, if you had the ability to make a universal law that everyone must follow, what would it be?
I don't know about universal, but in Kenya, the thing that annoys me to no end is the way people throw stuff out of their cars, like the 2+, and it's usually yogurt, like yogurt containers and things like that.
Sugarcane
Like
stuff.
they'd be jailed, like they'll be next to murderers. That thing just really upsets me. Universally, I'd ban chewing gum.
What do you have
What?
against chewing gum?
You asked.
Okay. Ken, what does success look like for you now versus when you were starting out? What are some of those buzzwords that used to come in mind when, the young Ken was starting versus now?
Yeah, I think now is the freedom to decide when to go to work. Yeah. I mean, I just find it so powerful in this phase that I can take time off. So like now I tell them I'm happy to work till midnight every single day until the 20th. But then after the 20th, I'll go away. Anyone with a guess when I come back to work? 15th.
Oh, January. Wow. Right. What did the young
And it'll
Ken
happen.
think success
That was very difficult. That was very difficult to do.
What did the young Ken think success was? That thing that you used to say, like when you were maybe 20 or 19, I can't wait when I'm successful.
Building $1 billion business, yeah, just driving towards ambition.
Yeah. But do you think that's success anymore?
It's an important part, but it's not the whole part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question, and this is 2-part. So one of you will leave a question that the next guest will answer, but then other guest before you also left a question for you to answer. So I'll just throw this out and either of you can answer. What is the greatest thing you think you ever did for any of your businesses? Because now between all three of you, there are so many.
The greatest thing.
Yeah, you ever did for the business.
I can start. Okay. I think it's a culture that I left in the people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very close contact building people. I always say most people were handmade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A question for our next guest.
Sorry,
A question
for our next guest.
You have one? I was going to actually just ask our hallmark Komini question. What's keeping you up at night?
That's a good one. All right. Any parting shots? Tell people how to join Komini. So you've told us what it is. How do they join as we wrap?
Yes, so that can.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to join Komini. We have a cohort, a cycle is what we call it, opening up in January. But from January, there's also always on products. So you don't have to wait for a cycle. You can join, and we have a subscription membership fee every month where you get access to all these wonderful stories, the community, the content, and everything that is within the Komini universe. So you could find us at komini.co. That's our website. You could also find us on social media, Komini by Pani on Instagram and Komini on LinkedIn. And yes, also our personal pages as well. Ken is an avid doodler on LinkedIn. Every Friday. He has just all his doodles there, so you could also follow us on there. Koi is
the
warming
podcast.
up.
We have
to
the podcast.
social media. There's the podcast. There's a
Yes.
podcast on Spotify.
And Apple Podcasts.
And Apple Podcasts, and actually all podcast streaming platforms. It's called Komini by Pani. We have more than 30 or so episodes, and we just enjoy putting out a reflection every 2 weeks. So that's how to find us and to engage with us. We're always looking for more founders to join our community.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wonderful story and insights with us. And thank you for watching. Please share this with someone who could definitely use the nuggets and the wisdom. And once again, please remember to subscribe and see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Beauty Square KE. Beauty Square was my first full-blown business and the brand that pulled me into entrepreneurship and shaped so much of what I share here. In many ways, this podcast is an ode to that journey, the lessons, the growth, and the courage to start before everything was figured out. At Beauty Square, we're passionate about helping everyone become a skin expert, offering authentic products, from TikTok favorites to proven solutions for acne, dark spots, and more, with a team ready to guide you through all the right choices. Visit us at our CBD or Lavington branches for expert treatments like facials, waxing, body scrubs, and massages from our sister brand Sage. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at beautysquare.ke and at Sage Skin spelled SAGESKNN. And thank you for tuning in.